Hi, you guys. It's Amanda, and I'm back with another book review. This week I read Ta-Nehisi Coates' Between the World and Me, and I'm going to explain and dive into basically what the book was about and just give my opinion on it. So, I read this book. This is an excellent book. Toni Morrison said it's required reading. So I love Toni Morrison, so I was like, okay, let me read this. So, Between the World and Me is basically a letter that Ta-Nehisi wrote to his son about what it means to be a black man in America and what it is that they experience, or what black people really experience in America, but specifically black men, and how protecting your body is like vital. And just in him going into like detail about his life and what he experienced as a young boy growing into a young man, and adulthood, it just it showcases how much black people, we have to be in survival mode. We aren't really living, and I feel like that is so true. That's why I probably like a lot of this book felt so, like, I felt so connected to it. This book is also extremely pro black. He's extremely pro black. I'm gonna say more so leaning towards pro black male a little bit. Um, Not that that's a bad thing. Um, but I guess he's writing from that perspective because that's what he knows. This is the life that he's lived. But this is a letter to his son essentially, and he's basically explaining to him what it means to be a black man in America and what it means to be in America growing up during his time, and also he's breaking down how it's different now for his son, um, which I thought was really interesting, and how it was different for his parents and his grandparents because America is changing, but the sentiment towards black bodies will never change, and I think that's what I took away a lot from it. So basically, Ta-Nehisi, I hope I'm saying that right. I hope I'm not mispronouncing his name. He basically was raised in Baltimore. He grew up in the hood or whatever, and he eventually, goes to college. He goes to Howard, where I believe his father worked, and he just loved reading and learning about black history, black culture. His family was very pro black. I think his parents were involved with the Black Panther Party for a while, and so that really shaped him and who he is as a person. Um, I really enjoyed this book. I mean, it's just it's just excellent. It was a really good read. There's a portion in the book right here on page 36 where he says he was unconcerned with making the people who believed they were white comfortable in their belief. And he's referring to Malcolm X, who is another prolific, incredible black leader that I respect and admire. Um, those are my sentiments towards anyone who is living in this world as a black person. You need to remove the thoughts of how they view you out of your mind and just be yourself. Whether if that means sounding extremely proper or if that means being who you are, and whether you're hood or whatever, or perceived as hood or ghetto, don't let this world sanitize you. And I love that that's essentially what he was saying in this book. I think that's vital to living a life well lived, is to truly and freely be yourself. And he basically, breaks down this book in saying that we're not really free here in America as black people, black men specifically. He talks about times when he was a child and he was, you know, out and about, like coming home from school, and he stopped at the corner store, and like he had a gun pulled out on him. And when you're 11 and 12 years old, you shouldn't be experiencing stuff like that as a child. You should be carefree. You should not be concerned with that. But it's like in this country, our parents had to basically let us know that you cannot live and move the way your white counterparts move, you know? And he's basically explaining in this book how this country is on a hunt for your body. Like you have to constantly protect your body and constantly be in survival mode. And I think that idea of constantly being in survival mode in regards to living in this country definitely stems from slavery. And I think that instinctive and internalized fear that has been placed within us was basically um, imported in us from the oppressor, from colonization. Because your first instinct should not be fear. Your first instinct should be love. And it's at a constant conflict, and it's like these thought patterns, this fear based way of living, and it's the mindset is basically being it's generationally passed down. And he talks about like how his parents instilled that in with him. And it's almost like in this book, it's like he's trying to break a generational curse with his son, because he understands that his son is not growing up in a world in which he grew up, because just the circumstances, the environments, the affluence, the access that he's now providing for his son, he didn't have with, you know, his family and with his, you know, adolescence or whatever. But it's like he's trying to show him like, I don't want you to live in fear. I don't want you to be afraid. You don't have to be afraid. You know, this is your world too. This is your time too to live freely and to be your truest self. Don't let this society, don't let this world hinder you or block you from whatever it is that you feel you were called to be. So I really enjoyed this book so much about I really enjoyed that a lot about this book. It's he takes fatherhood and mentorship and black manhood very seriously. I just thought it was just so beautiful. Every black man should read this book. If you're a black man, read this book, please. Um, yeah, he loves being a black man. He loves blackness. There have one critique. I thought it was interesting because he was talking about um, like civilization and like blackness and Africa, and he basically said, "For would those be the same black kings who birthed all of civilization?" And I'm like, birthed? Like men don't give birth. I thought that was interesting. Like I'm not sure if he was saying that figuratively or metaphorically, obviously, but I'm like, I was just like, I don't know, boo. I guess. Like I thought that was an interesting sentence, but beyond that, he is, you know, speaking highly of Howard because he went there, and I wish I would have went to an HBCU. Fun fact: I remember when I was in undergrad at VCU, my creative writing professors recommended that I apply to Howard, and I wish I would have took her recommendation because I really would have loved to have gone there. But I didn't go. But he talks about Howard a lot. He references Howard as the Mecca, um, and just how you see this large variety of black people and just black expression, and just how, you know, unique we are, and how much beauty there is in that, and how we should embrace that. We shouldn't try to sanitize it to appease outward influences or outward critiques. Who gives a shit what they think? Be black, be you, be yourself. Like that's everything that he's saying. Like I'm like, yes, that's exactly what it is. We need to just be us and be free with that and be okay with that and not give a fuck and embrace one another. And Oh gosh, what else was he saying? He was just saying so much. I was just like, yes, I love this. He talked about um, it mostly centered around like black manhood, and he talked about his friend from college that he met, who was very affluent, who came from a very affluent family, who was a very respected member of society, who was striving for betterment, who essentially was gunned down by the police. He was followed from Maryland into DC and into Virginia by a police officer who essentially killed him in front of his fiance's house. And the officer was a black man. And I just thought it was so disturbing, so sad, so unfortunate that this is still what we are experiencing. This is still what we are going through. But it just further proves the point that no matter how much money you come from, no matter how much money you make in this life, no matter how much status you acquire, you are still deemed as less than. You're still deemed as property. You're still deemed as just a black body, you know, to the police, to white America, to whoever. And it's like you're killing the potential to change the world when you do that to us, when you do that to these men, to these people, because all of us have purpose in us. And it's just so sad. It was just so sad. Like, he talks about how he went to speak with, you know, his friend's mother, and just all the stuff that she had sacrificed, all that she had come from, and only for her to experience like her only son to be murdered is it's disheartening, but it's also becoming a point of I'm also coming to a point of desensitizing or being desensitized to it because it happens so often, and I don't want to be that way. Like, I definitely want to empathize and feel the humanity of death and loss when people experience these things, and I hope that I don't ever have to experience these things or anyone that I know. But it's just like, why does this have to happen? Why are we viewed in that way? And I'm like, gosh, of all people to kill him, a black cop, like, really, like. And then this all happened in the area that I'm from like the DMV. So I'm just like, dang, this is because like it happened in like 2000. So I didn't hear anything about it because I was like 13, 14 years old. Like, I wasn't in the paying attention to stuff like that. But yeah, he pulled all of these elements together so beautifully. He writes so beautifully and so lyrically, and it's just I was just like really impressed by this book, by his writing. He talks about the black women in his life, the women that he loved, and just his upbringing with his family and his family dynamic. And he discusses how he doesn't have a belief in God. He doesn't have a belief system, um, which I found to be interesting because he had also mentioned or alluded to the fact that his son is his God, or he worships his son. And I just was like, I don't know if that's a good idea because your son is a human. He could be taken from you at any moment, which is something that he's aware of because he makes mention of his son having like a brief life. He said something like, with your bright brief life, I hope that you do whatever. And I'm like, why do you want to say that your son's life will be short? Like, he said that probably 2 times, and I was just like really confused by that. But he basically was saying like how his son is his God. Like, he doesn't believe in God, but his son is what he believes in. So I just thought that was interesting. I think it would be interesting if he is a non-believer but his son becomes a believer, or I wonder what is his son's belief system. I wonder what his wife's belief system is. Like, I'm interested in his knowing more about his family dynamic because I'm like, black atheists, that's different. I don't know too many of those. So, yeah, I really enjoyed this book. This is a really good book. It is most certainly required reading. It's only 150 pages. It's a very short read. Took me a week, but I get busy. I get distracted. I wouldn't say I get busy. I get distracted. But yes, everyone should read. Tana, I'm sorry, sir. Mr.